Jude Meadows, a high-flying businesswoman, has many of the traits of what's known as a type A personality.
Absolute workaholic, a problem fixer, somebody who believed that there was always a way of doing things, a real sort of can-do attitude, maybe a bit impatient as well.
Type A personalities are perfectionists, impatient, ambitious, fast talkers who can't switch off. They're also more susceptible to stress. And one of the best places to study them is in the Serengeti in Africa. Incredibly, baboons face many of the same social pressures that we do. For the past 25 years, Robert Sapolsky has been studying stress in baboons.
So you want to understand why some humans get stress-related diseases, others don't? Go look at a baboon out in the Serengeti. They've got 9 hours of free time every day to devote to just generating miserable psychological stress for each other. They're just like us in our westernized lifestyles.
By measuring the levels of hormones in male baboons, Sapolsky has shown that stress-related illnesses, such as heart disease, are dependent on personality.
So what counts as a disaster of a baboon when it comes to stress management? I had this guy a few years ago. His name was Nick. He was the epitome of what type A is about. His worst rival shows up on the field and takes a nap 100 yards away. This is an outrage.
Unsurprisingly, Nick the baboon had incredibly high stress levels. As a result, he suffered from high blood pressure, a depressed immune system, had dangerously high cholesterol levels, and died young.
In contrast, I had this other guy named Joshua, who was one of my all-time favorites, and this guy just was this Zen baboon. What he mostly spent his time doing, as far as I could tell, was walking away from fights that your average male baboon would wind up in the middle of, and instead grooming with females and playing with kids.
Joshua had the lowest levels of stress hormones in the group. His health was good. He bore more children, and he outlived his rivals by years. Personality has a lot to do with how stress affects you. But if you're a type A personality like Jude, does that mean you're stuck with it forever?
Absolutely not. Lots of studies showing with a lot of work, you can change type A profiles and you change the physiology as well. But it doesn't come easy.
In fact, it requires a discipline that has long been known in the East. Jude is dealing with her stress. Twice a day, she takes 20 minutes out to meditate. Using a method called transcendental meditation, she repeats a word in her head and tries to free her mind of thought.
Sometimes you're completely free of thoughts. Other times you will get thoughts that will come through your head. You just let the thoughts come and go. The stillness and the peace actually comes again. So by the end of your 20 minutes, you just feel good, you feel refreshed.
Within 6 months of meditating, Jude saw a big difference in her blood pressure.
And for the first time in ages, it was normal. I mean, you know, well normal, probably more normal than it had ever been.
So what is it about meditation that allows Jude to control her stress response? Dr. Herbert Benson has spent 30 years traveling the globe, studying the world's most accomplished meditators. Using modern technology, Benson is trying to understand how meditation appears to reverse the body's natural stress response.
What we are finding is that for centuries upon centuries, people had discovered that there's something they could do to counteract the harmful effects of stress.
Benson named it the relaxation response. It's the body's innate ability to lower blood pressure, reduce heart rate, and slow breathing.
We are fortunate that we have within us a response opposite to the fight or flight response. That is the relaxation response. And there are scores of techniques.
But in all of them, 2 steps are needed. The first is a repetition, a word, a sound, a movement. The second is freeing your mind of thought by concentrating on that repetition. And everyone can do it. The relaxation response can be triggered by all kinds of activity, from the repetition of a prayer to the primal beat of dancing. Even the rhythm of exercise can reverse the harmful effects of stress. So how does it work? At an MRI facility in Boston, Herbert Benson's colleague, Sarah Lazar, is looking inside the brain for an answer. Her subject is a Tai Chi master, Ramel Ronez. He has over 20 years of meditation experience. Ramel has been fitted with equipment to monitor his body temperature and breathing.
What are we doing now?
We're going to do the meditation scan now. So you're going to lie there quietly for a few minutes, and then you're going to begin the meditation.
As Ramel begins his meditation, the MRI scanner takes a series of snapshots inside his brain. Over the next 10 minutes, Ramel will try to empty his mind of thought.
What I was trying to do is focus on my breath slowly, because the breath is nothingness, is empty, is a vacuum. And by doing that, you try to empty your mind from any worries and thoughts, and hopefully reach a deep level of relaxation.
As Ramel meditates, his breathing slows to 4 breaths a minute, and his body temperature drops. Inside his brain, activity also slows down, but incredibly, the MRI scan reveals that certain areas have become more active. The red spots show activity. As well as controlling our heart and breathing rate, these are the parts of the brain that control alertness, decision-making, and emotion. It suggests that in a state of meditation, the mind is not only more alert, but that we are able to control our emotional response to stressful situations.
If such simple steps, a repetition and the disregard of everyday thoughts, could bring about such profound physiologic changes, what would happen in more advanced people who practice meditation?
In 1981, during a research trip to India, Benson witnessed one of the most astonishing feats of mind over body. It's called Tumo Yoga. In the freezing temperatures of the Tibetan mountains, Buddhist monks have learned to use their minds to increase their body temperature. Within 5 minutes of wrapping themselves in icy wet sheets, they can raise their temperature so much that the sheets start to steam.
You and I would go into uncontrollable shivering if we wrapped ourselves in a wet sheet in 40-degree weather. These people were able to do just the opposite through this mind-body advanced meditative technique of Tumo Yoga.
In less than an hour, the sheets are bone dry.
It shows the profundity of what people can do through this type of mind-body advanced meditative technique.
Jude Meadows is part of a growing band of people using these ancient techniques to deal with the demands of the modern world. For 3 years, she has been meditating daily to promote the relaxation response and reduce her stress levels.
Learning transcendental meditation is the most significant thing I've ever done in my life. It's made a huge difference to me on a health basis. I feel different, and I've seen a difference in the way in which I work. You have that much more focus and clarity. You could achieve the same results, but with less effort. I stopped working weekends and evenings and started to get a bit of a life. So for me, it's the best thing I've ever done.
In a world where stress can pursue us like a predator, managing its harmful effects is critical to safeguarding our mental and physical health.